As I have mentioned already, we need to realize the potential of this island by developing it as a center that links the countries on the rim of the Indian Ocean, the countries of the SAARC, and the countries of BIMSTEC. That is the first strategic action that has to be taken. The foundation for this has already been laid. I am aware of it, and I'm sure that many of you are also aware of it. And I'm sure some of you will remember the work that was put into this by the late Mr. Kadir Gamer, who did a lot of work on this and who actually has brought the institutional framework required together in its most basic form. As I said, it has to be made the platform housing the developmental, the strategic function of the global developmental process as it impacts upon the regions linked by this island. There are certain things which have to be done for this to happen. And these certain things which have to be done will be included in my budgetary recommendations, or the recommendations that I make as elements that have to be included in the budget for 2016. Now, the first and the most important institution that has to be developed in order to implement the policy that I described and the strategy that I described to you is what I call the National Institute for Organization, Development and Design. And I have spoken about this before, but I must mention it again in the context of these budgetary recommendations that I am making. Now, this institution is vitally necessary in order to ensure that the institutions of the state and all other institutions function in a particular way, and that way is called a process-driven way. Right now, all our institutions function in a personality-driven way. That is, they depend on persons and the authority that persons wield and the fear that they command and the obedience that they insist on. That's how our institutions currently run. That is not the way institutions should run. Institutions should be process-driven. Everybody should know what they have to do because they only have to look at the process manual, and they can see in the process manual what they, by virtue of the position that they occupy on the organizational structure that they work for, what they have to do by virtue of that position that they hold, and how they have to do it, and the time it should take them to do it, and the skills that they require in order to do it. Everything should be set out in the manual, and they just simply have to do their job. Nobody has to tell them what to do. So you don't have to have some authoritarian, dictatorial overlord screaming his head off at you from morning till night. He knows what you should be doing. You know what you should be doing. You know how you have to do it. You know about the skills you need to do it, and you have them already. And you go ahead and you do it. Management is there merely to monitor what is happening and to see that nothing is going wrong and to look out for improvements that can be made. That is the role of management, not to push people to work. So this kind of process-driven management is essential for all our organizations. And processes generate integrity. Because you know how something was done or how something is supposed to have been done. So there are compliance mechanisms to make sure that processes are followed. And yes, there will be punishments for those who fail to follow the processes. But that is not the same thing as a personality-driven organization. In a process-driven organization, everybody knows what is expected, and everybody accepts that if what is expected is not delivered, then there will be punishment meted out. Now, we have to transform all our organizations, especially the organizations of the state, the institutions of the state, from these personality-driven institutions and organizations into process-driven ones. And that is why I say we have to start with this National Institute for Organization, Design, Development and Design. And we cannot have just one building block that we call this institution, this National Institute for Organization, Development and Design. It has to be a process. We have to have branches right throughout the country at district and divisional level, and these branches have to ensure that all government servants are trained and that all government institutions are process driven, that their processes are carefully mapped and monitored, and that their employees are trained in how to follow these processes. I know you are going to tell me that this is impossible. I hear that again and again in Sri Lanka. I hear excuses like, we are a third world country, how can we do that? We don't have the money. Yes, you have the money to build highways and byways and all that thing, but you don't have money to do what must be done. The most fundamental thing, you don't have money to do. The process-driven mentality and mechanisms that you require to support all of your development, no money, no time, cannot be done. Not enough people. Yes, I agree. There are not enough people. We will have to employ people from abroad. So this National Institute of Organization, Development and Design will probably have to bring in experts, and I would think experts from Japan. There are reasons why historically Japan became this leading industrial power, because they imported somebody from America. After the Second World War, when their entire economy had fallen apart, they imported a person from America, Edward Deming. Those of you who are involved in organization development will recognize the name and know about him. And that is how they built themselves up. So we will also have to probably import some people, because yes, I am very familiar with this field. I have been active in this field for more than 30 years, and I know that we don't have enough people to do this task. But I also do know that there are enough such people in the world, and all we have to do is bring them here. Of course, again, we will have to ensure that the atmosphere here is attractive to them, because why should they leave their lives in America and in Japan and wherever they are and come out here, unless we offer them a pleasant environment where it is where working in is something enjoyable, where they can actually have a good time and make a contribution that will be beneficial to all of us. So we have to do that. So this is the fundamental institution of development that we need. And let me assure all of you that if this institution is not put in place, if this is ignored, if this requirement is scoffed at and pushed aside, I can assure you we will not be able to meet our expectations. We might make something like 3 to 5% progress in that direction, but that will not be enough, and that progress will not be able to sustain either. It will fall apart. The moment we take our hands off, it will crash, because there is no process to sustain it. So please take this seriously. All those who are involved in running this country, please take this seriously. Make sure that this institute, this National Institute for Organization, Development and Design is put into place, and please also take into account the fact that we don't have the necessary people to do the job that it has to do. So you will have to find a way to bring people in from abroad to play whatever role they can play in ensuring that we make the transition from personality-driven institutions and organizations to process driven ones. Now that is the first and the most important thing. As I said before, if we don't do that, we will achieve a little, perhaps enough to boast about and win a few elections, but we will not be able to sustain whatever we achieve. It will fall apart, and it will fall apart very soon. So that is important. Please go ahead and do it.